Thank you everyone for staying, for attending this, Mr. Clifford specifically. My name is Clint Hutchison. I have a degree in linguistics I got a long time ago and have done nothing significant with. I went straight into court reporting after getting that degree, and after that, because court reporting is intensely depressing, because you're just watching other people's lives go very, very poorly. I moved into IT where there's nothing at stake except numbers and other people's data, which is important, but it's much more salutary.
You get points for honesty.
Thank you. While I was getting my degree in linguistics, I learned the International Phonetic Alphabet, of course. I studied French and Russian and Arabic. So I came out of school with a whole bunch of alphabets and scripts rattling around, cluttering each other, getting in each other's way. After that, I learned machine shorthand, which is based on the English syllabic structure, where like the leftmost key is an S, then it has T, K, P, R and L in the middle, vowels, and then, let's see, F, R, P, B, L, G, T, S, D, Z. So, which goes perfectly with the English phonotactics. Anyway, it also has a great many abbreviations that come in there. So, later when taking notes on this, that, and the other thing, I would find my mind switching between Arabic scripts, Russian scripts, IPA, and a jumble of machine shorthand abbreviations. So, that is where I got a lot of the, well, let's see, I can just demonstrate.
There's only one good marker. Which one it is?
The one that from Staples.
Try them out.
It's probably
No, don't try them.
They're not worth it.
Don't take the risk.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, just some script.
Or
at least that's on too.
Just making scribbles is dangerous around here. Yeah, how's it constructed?
Ooh, pretty scripty, boingy, boingy.
this thing needs a lot more bracing.
You can tell the region
This mess here is a quick note taking, can be confusing when it is done in a jumble of scripts. So, these are the thoughts, and since I'm having them, I think they're worth writing down quickly, and oftentimes I end up thinking quicker than I could write everything out. It gets even more troublesome when you've got like a big concept like, say, open database connectivity, or Federal Bureau of Investigation, or what occurs to me this time would be conlagging. So, to this end, I have naturally and organically come up with the abbreviations that are present in the handout. That's a plural marker derived from Russian. That's a feminine marker. That's a negative particle from symbolic logic. And the GS looking thing is derived from machine shorthand. That, when done in the final position, is the abbreviation for shun. So So it's like reduplicate, reduplication would be when you throw that in. So these are what I've come up with, but in the course of attending the lectures previously, it occurred to me that y'all, codlingers, spend a fair bit of time coming up with your own semantic particles and markers and so forth. So Sylvia shared with me that she thought that this thing, which looks sort of like an Arabic ayn, but is actually from the Greek shorthand for people, would make a good animate marker. Animate, living, alive or person. Another one that occurred to me from Leela's thing would be that, a phi, which could be used for the food marker. Could use that for car or vehicle. And the other thing, I'd recommend use this for like human marker and then sort of like a heartbeat for living or animate. The area where this would be particularly useful, I think, for y'all conlangers is that there are a number of two-letter country codes and culture codes that are used in like computer and web page content encoding. So this would give y'all a very compact way to go and indicate, Kazakhstan, a Kazakhstan person, Kazakhstan food, some living Kazakhstan person, multiple, not, etc., etc. So in the course of working on your notes, this will hopefully be able to save you more than the 5 minutes it has taken me to explain. Are there any questions or comments?
You said you used to be a court reporter. What systems did you use, and do you have any comments on the various shorthand systems that there are out there? Shorthand in quotes. I don't mean shorthand the specific writing system, but the type.
It's the shorthand I used was largely based on real-time captioning, so that when you're watching ESPN or CNN and you see the news scrolling live, it's actually more like a very fast form of typing. So you have like your basic abbreviation, and then like you put like re, and that it specifies that it is word initial. So it'll have a space, then RE, and then it knows that there's no space after that. So rework. They have you can specify that a given stroke will be a word by itself, or a prefix, suffix, or infix.
So you were always working with a computer then? You weren't doing it by hand?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, all computer-aided transcription, which was first done for the federal government for translation of intercepted phone calls and stuff.
Whereas your system here is intended for noting by hand.
That is correct.
Okay. Whoever's closer to the mic.
Should I say my name or?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm Hodey, aka Peter Ara Gagazian, and this is just absolutely intriguing because this is stuff I love to do, and a question coming up. I see you have lots of semantic markers. You have markers like for different relational concepts and syntactic concepts. How do you? What about phonetics? Like for say longer words, how do you like abbreviate them phonetically? Do you have a special like system? Do you have like say certain common prefixes? You like abbreviate them? I'm just interested because there's I mean, the semantic and syntactic parts are really useful, and I was wondering, basically, yeah, how you dealt with the phonetic part.
I usually err on the side of whichever way I have of writing something that will require the fewest letters. So, if for some reason y'all were lucky enough to refer to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'd be sad. LAERJ is court shorthand for ladies and gentlemen of the jury, which is a common phrase in that context, so I'd use that there. Something else is, like, let's say if we had strengths, I'd be sort of screwed, because that's, you know, every sound in strengths gets written and already corresponds to a letter, so I wouldn't be able to compress that terribly much. I will use, let's see. That dot wasn't necessary, but like this would be thanks, which actually the theta comes in handy because that's like just one loop instead of. Also, from picking up Arabic, I use a lot of ascenders and descenders just when writing ordinary English. It'll be Talladega, but I skip the downstroke, I don't connect things. It is sort of one of the classic examples because it's much smaller than the traditional. Normal versus the reduced form that I'll use.
What are the E and R, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
The A and the E.
Or ladies and, so L-A.
L-A-E-R-J.
J is jury. What is E and R?
That is machine shorthand that's just a brief form that's just arbitrarily set to be ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Is ER specifically for that phrase, or is ER stuff goes here?
No, it's, since we have time. The machine shorthand keyboard is 23 keys that can be depressed independently. Instead of a 101 keyboard where you have to go one at a time, really what you have is a 2 to the power of 23 key keyboard.
Hypothetically, what is yours?
No, literally.
You don't have that many fingers.
Yeah, you do. It's, we'll just stick with the left hand. In the home row position, like this, there are 8 keys over here. You place the tip of your fingers on the cracks between them. So, if you want to, and this is welded together, it doesn't matter whether it's high or low. But if you want to do, say, let's say,
So what you're representing is 2 keys is actually what? Or
this one is just one big key, but it still has a groove in it. These are all separate keys. Down here is A, O, E, U. So if you wanted to write stop, you'd have this finger in the middle, this left ring finger in the higher position. Other 2 left fingers wouldn't go down. The left thumb would be slightly to the right to hit the O. Right thumb doesn't go down. And then the right ring finger is in the raised position. So then, stop. And they all have their own little channel on the steno paper. So it would come out great deal of blank space. Which perhaps helps you go and see how it is in fact like binary. You've got 23 bits worth of space on the paper, only a few of which will be filled at any given time. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it is easier to write in English actually, or the abbreviation is, because that would come out. There's actually 9 characters, but it only takes 1 stroke to write them. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Whoa.
Take your word for it.
We're giving you an idea for an Angelang.
You're welcome to it, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about this, which ends up being customized by each individual court reporter based on how they hear English and how they organize words in their heads. So what might make a good infix for me, most folks probably wouldn't even think of an infix. They'd get mad if you tried to tell them to use it. They would probably go back and edit it later.
Doesn't that cause a bit of problem with transcriptions?
Each person creates their own, programs their own translation dictionary.
I see. So you have to have somebody's dictionary in order to be able to change their notes into useful stuff.
For the most part, there are some occasionally court reporting scandals, like a court reporter goes insane. This one guy in Seattle shot himself in the parking lot. He'd been seen just like writing, just, you know, essentially all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. During court sessions, no one wanted to say anything. He shoots himself, goes to the hospital, completely neglects his work. And then this other guy said, "Oh no, I know court reporting. Yeah, I can translate his notes. Of course I can." And that was
he
just...
goes insane too.
I believe that was merely fraud. But yeah, if you don't actually have someone's dictionary, then you can sort of guesstimate or try to hermeneutic out what it was they wrote. But of course, if they don't write anything, like let's say they pass out for 2 minutes, then you can't tell how much time went between one stroke and the next stroke. So it's, I really recommend...
it's not timestamped.
You can have them timestamped, but if you're just using a paper tape or an old school system, then it wouldn't be timestamped. Yeah, they should use video, like just as a backup thing.
Do you have some ideas for how to further compact this? You showed how a few ideas for how to compact written shorthand. Do you think that could be done even more dense and not drive someone completely insane?
I'm not sure about without driving completely insane. There's, how many words are there in English? I forget, like what's 600,000? With the 2 to the 23 keyboard, you could actually come up with 4 separate arbitrary combinations for each English word, but they'd just be very, very hard to remember, as opposed to this, which has sort of a phonetic mnemonic quality to it, which means that you can write it. And also, if y'all are familiar with the concept of signal to noise, by having 3 blank spaces around each word, more or less, this means that you can get a keystroke wrong if I'm lazy and don't hit the L key. Then I can still pretty much figure out that that is not learning, which is what this does say, but from the context that it was supposed to be ladies and gentlemen of the jury. If you had a completely full keyboard and every stroke was assigned to an English string, then you couldn't do that as safely. That's why, even though you can write 1, 2, 3, 4 with numerals, some people prefer to go and have a word for 33, 32, so that they'll be easier to disambiguate in case of a misstroke.
Kodak.
Oh, go ahead.
As interesting as this is, I wonder why the the tradition in court reporting is still that you type it out in this type of shorthand during the trial. Why not just audio tape and transcribe it from that? Why isn't that the norm? I'm sure there's some reason for that, but I'm just curious.
Searchability, like you don't want to have like an encyclopedia on tape, because you can't look for what they were talking about, on a particular topic. You'd have to go and through the whole thing. If it's been changed into text strings, then you can do searches by text strings.
I think what he was asking is why do it live? Why not record it and have someone later do it in the comfort of their own home or whatever?
Yeah, that's true.
One issue is that you, even if you were doing it by audio, you'd still need some live person there who can get blamed and fired if the audio recording goes poorly. This has like a human who's really concerned that things are being recorded and preserved in a manner that can be extracted later.
Thank you.
But to a certain extent, it is a bit of tradition.
How long did you work as a court reporter?
About 3 years.
Was it hard?
Yes, there's about a 15% graduation rate of people who try to become court reporters who succeed in being court reporters. And oddly enough, that's the same ratio that they found for people trying to become pen and paper court reporters back in the 19th century. So this implies that there's some sort of distribution of linguistic transcriptional skills, which only 15% of the population can do.
Yes. I'm curious, what is the asterisk looky key thing in the middle there? What is that? What function does that have?
That can be used to go and indicate like abbreviations, so that by having the asterisk there, this is like D-O-N-T, that makes it more explicitly don't, versus say daunt, like orthodontic. It's I generally use the star, the asterisk, or the marked form. What else would one use it for?
How is that D?
TK goes to D. Yeah, TK goes to D. No. And in fact, the keyboard is not marked on, it's not marked physically, you just have to know which key corresponds to which. TK is D, TP is F, TPH is N, HRA would be La. Since H and R don't actually occur in English as a consonantal cluster, so H plus R equals L. This produces some problems with words like when distinguishing between shred and sled.
So, how long did it take you to learn to use this system proficiently?
The machine shorthand system?
The keyboard.
You can learn to read it in a couple of months in terms of writing it at the standards in Washington State are 200 words a minute at 95% accuracy, and that took 3 years, which is about average.
Kelly, did you still have a question? Go ahead.
Back to your own system, I also have a question about Outlaws. When you wrote it'll, like, with double L for will, would that be like the same for, no matter, like, if you were writing W-I-L-L, you'd write that differently?
Since these are notes for human interpretation later, I don't have to be as careful about allomorphs and distinguishing everything.
Okay, and so for other things, like that are like TION, shun, but like that in say like vision in a S, you just do the same thing, like you still use a shun symbol, or
Probably, that'll probably come out VIS gamma, yeah.
okay. I'll be talking to you later. I have just so many.
I'm flattered.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.